good afternoon. Our topic today, our presentation today is a little bit along the line, I think, of Christoph, why God won't go away. I think our previous speakers have already done the job, and Christoph has already proven mathematically. So, but we'll go a little quickly, and you must be hungry too. So we'll have a quick go through the different aspects which make sense, even those spiritual things which are taught in our scriptures in the light of today's modern world. They still make sense. So I'll go quickly into that. Okay, this is dedication, Dr. Singh. Our whatever little we know, it belongs to him. Okay, so these questions, basically in spirituality, you see, when I talk about reality, I touch this, yes, it is there. I touch this, yes, it is there. I see you, you see me. So this world exists, and we know that, okay, these things are real. But when this question comes about God, about soul, well, soul and God, yeah, okay. And then, of course, then related questions in this line, which are connected to it, or can come out of this, afterlife or karma, we tell in our Indian tradition, and then purpose of life. So these things are not visible as such. You cannot touch this, and realization requires tremendous effort, which we have heard from sages and saints, that these things are there, but these doubts always haunts our minds. Whether these things are really there, or is just a belief, or now Christoph has Gödel had put this mathematically. So we'll try to explore this. We will not go all into this. These things are very natural consequences. Karma, purpose of life. If you are clear about either of these questions, soul or God, then these other things are very natural consequences. This is a quote from Brouwer, about whom I will little bit share. He is a Dutch mathematician from Netherlands, very interesting person. I will share about that in the subsequent slides later. So I thought that let me touch little bit into physics. I think previous speakers have covered biology, mathematics, so I will touch little bit physics too. I will enter a little bit into physics. So if you see the objectively, honestly, openly, without any bias towards anything, the development of science from the 15th, 16th century till today, how things have been developing. So starting from all this Galileo, Copernicus and all those people, modern science, and then there is a major contribution comes during the times of Newton, where things are precisely definable. Means if I throw this, I know that this is a projectile motion, it is going to hit there at this point of time, at this distance, and even at each point I know where is the direction, where the velocity. So it's precisely known, and things seems to be in order, and seems to be under calculative capacity. So that those things, and slowly this conception, which started with a small thing, it went, and it actually a big contribution. Newton covered so much of science, not only in mechanics but so many areas. So if you see that goes into every department, fluid mechanics and all those you study, Navier-Stokes equation, everywhere, in every areas, all these things comes up, and basically coming from Newton's all this Newton mechanics. But those are perfectly fine, and then slowly Newton, if you see the Newton's Principia Mathematica, the famous 5 volumes, Newton mentioned there is a danger in what I am doing in the last volume, and he mentions very precisely where there are problems may come in the future. in my mechanics. It's good that sometime if you refer to that, I will give you little hint in that. Newton mentioned that many things will not be definable, and you will be shocked to know we have been taught and reading from childhood force equal to ma, F equal to ma, right? What exactly is force? This word force, we put 5 Newton force, this is a block of mass, and then friction, all those things we have been studying. Even today, we have no clear definition of what is force. Making a big statement in the front of all the people. There is a book recently by, what is his name? He is a physicist at MIT. He got Nobel Prize in that, and he has a book called in that mass, force, and what is third item? We don't know exactly what is mass even today, and what is this force, how to define it precisely up to the end, not straight in the middle completely. So Newton actually saw all these problems earlier, but his followers slowly got took the Newton mechanics to such an extent that well, I can solve this equation of a system of a ball and extend it to everything in the universe, from human beings to the cosmos. So if I know the state of the system, initial conditions, I know the final state of the system. Similarly, this can be applied to anything to us. But then as you move on in the journey of science, you see the problems arise. The things won't go so easily. Here comes the development in physics, in quantum physics, where the first problem came is that the de Broglie wave equation, which we read from childhood, maybe from whatever classes. So there was a de Broglie writes in his book. There is a book by him, and he found that there is a wave associated with everything. So what does that mean? Means this is a pointer and there is a wave associated with pointer. What it makes sense? What does it mean? So it is not just there is one thing like matter, particle, and there is a wave. But de Broglie found, whatever equation you know, de Broglie equation, right? That what it says is that there is a wave associated with everything, every matter, and this is a big question. What does it mean? What is the meaning of that? So things were not that simple. Actually, if you go really deep, we will not go so much inside. And then, as you know, that Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which kind of actually gave a big blow in the minds that why at all there is uncertainty in the nature, in the reality. Why I am not allowed to probe reality. This Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which is so simple actually. We read in our graduation, in our college, and use it and apply it and solve. But this simple principle is Heisenberg and Niels Bohr. It troubled Heisenberg a lot. Actually, day and night, he writes that Heisenberg writes in his books that I could not sleep many nights. Like you cannot sleep because of the exam. Similarly, Heisenberg could not sleep because of discovering this equation. Why like that? Because one of the question is, he says that, well, why at all there is uncertainty, which is independent of the technology. And then, of course, the death of means the certainty which we had in Newton mechanics already went away. There are limits, you cannot define things up to infinitely. And they had lot of discussions, and he writes that I used to go in the night, Heisenberg writes that I used to go in the night and on the seashore and ask myself again and again, why nature is so uncertain at the root level. So these developments actually opened up a lot, and this is a famous, you might have heard of this, that Schrodinger's cat paradox, that you can Google it, find it out. Schrodinger, the same Schrodinger, Erwin Schrodinger, same from Austria, that person physicist who gave Schrodinger wave equation, that del psi and all which we read. So this simple thought experiment, and it is a big paradox, because one of the big paradox in quantum physics, because this has no solution in our current paradigm. The experiment is very simple. There is a box here, there is a cat there, and there is a nice milk there, maybe a Amul milk, and you can have milk, and then you have a hammer here, and then here this thing is connected to the hammer. Hammer is directed to the beaker, and this lever is connected to a box, blue box inside, and it has couple of uranium atoms inside. So if uranium atom decays, then this hammer, this lever goes down, hammer goes down, and then the beaker breaks. And but the problem is the milk has a poison mixed with it. So if milk comes out, cat will drink and die. And if this atom does not decay, then this lever will remain as it is, and cat will remain alive. So as you know, the property of the radioactive atoms is that in the half-life period, that if you have 1 kilo of mass and 1 kilo of whatever uranium atom suppose, and during this half-life time, on an average 50% should decay. But if you have 4 or 5 atoms, you can never say after this half-life time, whatever half-life time of that element, uranium, from 4 it becomes exactly 2 atoms. You cannot say, it is statistical. So Schrodinger was puzzled. So you do not know if you, what he said, let us put only 4 atoms of radioactive element inside this blue box. Now you define state of this system at any given time t. So quantum physics tells you, well, the atoms may decay, may not decay. So that means both possibilities exist. Cat may be alive, cat may be dead. So as per the physics, because of the superimposition, actually it says that cat is alive and dead both, which is of course in today's modern civilization, human beings we are little bit dead and alive both, but this has no meaning actually. So this cannot be resolved until unless how do you resolve this? This is not possible to resolve until unless one observer opens the box and tells, well, yes, cat is there or not. So this observer, you can again break that observer, suppose I am there, you break that myself into a system, and you again get into same problem. Finally, the point is that there has to be something which now physicists is a very common and consciousness thing has come, that beyond normal physical or this thing, which has to be there, that observer means that consciousness, people use it. Until as you have that, you cannot decide the state of this system. So that's how, this is one of the things, quantum physics tells you so many things about consciousness thing, which is very popular now. Every 1 week, at least 100 books are published on quantum physics and spirituality. You go to Google or you go to stores and all stores, Nobel Bonds, anywhere you will find so much work on quantum physics and spirituality. So, but the implications are very strong. So the science which is started, actually, which started very simply with the physical realities, but what we are finding, that looks like in reality there are more invisible things than which are visible. This you see, like for example, I have mind, you all have mind, right? I have intelligence, you all have intelligence. I have consciousness, you have all consciousness, but these things are not in the visible range. So the things which the development shows, as I can show you a little bit, that as you move on more and more in the development, in the scientific way, in the logical way, in the precise way, you find there are things in reality which are much more deeper, which are existing here, but are not accessible by my apparatuses, and which exist. That's the beauty of these developments. So this is one of those things, like, so there is a consciousness which exists, but you cannot, without that is not possible. So idea is that from the simple thing, when you throw a ball, there was no observer earlier, but now when you throw a ball, you need a person also who is throwing the ball. It is not just the projectile motion. Projectile motion needs to involve the person who is throwing the ball. As soon as you bring in person, the hundreds of things will come, because with consciousness, not only I am just throwing the ball, I am throwing with love, with emotions, with so many things. So much issues will add up, and you have so many whole world, another world which you cannot answer, and neither you can avoid. So, of course, this consciousness of this box, you can extend it. That is what scientists do mostly, quantum physicists, Amit Goswami and all these people in US, in India, that you extend this consciousness from single small person to this universe, means you replace that box of the cat by this universe. So, that means for this universe also there should be an observer. So, that is you call super observer, God, supreme consciousness, whatever word you want to use. So, that is how very simply the things comes in. So, this is Heisenberg after the conversations about Indian philosophy. Some of the ideas of quantum physics that had seemed so crazy suddenly made much more sense. One of the things which I want to share with you all is that I was going through the works of these scientists from last 15-20 years, all the founders of science. Take it anybody. 99%. You take start from Newton, Kepler, Maxwell, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, Max Planck. You take anybody, all these people, and even Navier-Stokes, Stokes, and then take anybody. So, what I saw, it will be useful for you that these people, all these founders, let me talk first of physics. All these founders, even recent our Feynman, all these people have technical papers which are published, known, like Heisenberg. You go to Heisenberg, Google it, his technical papers will come. See more. These people actually already probed about spirituality in the latter part of their life, by the natural development and conclusions of the subject which you are dealing with, and then they wrote books after that which directly touches upon spirituality. Like Schrödinger, when we talk about Schrödinger, we only know Schrödinger wave equation which is taught in our colleges, but tell you frankly, the way quantum physics is taught in our college is very amazing. Means I also did when we were doing BTech, Kanpur IIT, there is a course called Quantum Mechanics 201 or 101, but actually it does not tell you anything. The course just tells you there are differential equations, there are operators, how to solve them in a box, electrons, but it really does not tell you anything about quantum mechanics, what it is really. Quantum mechanics is not just the operators and differential equations and solve them and PDEs, and no, quantum mechanics is much far away. Mathematics, that is only a small, tiny fraction. Quantum mechanics, we were going through this quantum mechanical developments of couple of years together with couple of people, and we found so much beautiful work actually, which is not known. So my request is, I was going too much into the work of Heisenberg, because I was very attracted. This person, how he developed quantum mechanics is beautiful. Some of you will be shocked actually. You know, the way he developed quantum mechanics is not the way we today work. He developed very abstract way, like from classical concepts bringing to quantum concepts in a very beautiful way. For example, one of the important concepts I just to share that you will get idea. He said when the electron is not, suppose earlier we were thinking small particle and which is following simple path and equations, but when you come to electron, then things are not, you cannot know here, there, or so many, it creates you too much havoc in your everything. So now what Heisenberg was saying, when earlier we used to define position for electron, position means x, y, z coordinates or whatever, right? But looks like you have to keep the word position, but the definition of the position has to be changed. It is not something existing here in this space time in 3 x, y, z. He said, same thing, you have to keep the word, change the definition of the all momentum. The classical momentum is very simple. You have momentum mv or whatever, but he said now you change the definition of momentum. It is not something what you study, but keep the word. So Heisenberg developed whole quantum mechanics with that, and that's a very interesting concept I found. Actually, you take it further. Heisenberg took from classical to quantum. You can take one step further. You change the further definitions, you come to spirituality. Very beautiful concept. Means, I will talk about it. Defining a word is a big problem in science. I will tell you more precisely in mathematics. How to define something? You change the definition, you are in another realm. You change further the definition, you are in another realm. Suppose this position. You define it one way, you are in classical hard physical objects. You define the position another way, you are in another realm of quantum. You define the position another way, you are in spiritual realm actually. That's it. You have to yourself go through it. I am just sharing, giving a little honey outside the bottle, but you enter. So Heisenberg wrote a book called Physics and Philosophy, Physics and Beyond. 6-7 books. Just see them, it directly touches spirituality, not straight away. In the last part of his life, and not only Heisenberg, Schrödinger wrote a book called What is Life. The last chapter of the book is the Vedanta, directly about spirituality. They go deep, and then you actually, if one is open enough, mature, simple and honest, and goes deeply into this subject, God and soul, all these are very natural conclusions. That's what I saw with all these people. So these are all scientists sitting there in Solvay in Brussels with all the conferences, and they were puzzled. Everybody is there more or less. Everybody means that time, Planck, Madame Curie and all, and they were very puzzled why the nature is behaving the way it is behaving. It looks very ridiculous and we did not expect it that way. So Niels Bohr, yeah, we can find nothing in physics or chemistry that have in a remote bearing on consciousness, yet all of us know that there is such a thing as consciousness simply because we have it ourselves. So Bohr, it is not just a code, you see. It is not such a code, you Google it and get a code. Bohr gave a lecture on called Light and Life. Very famous lecture of Niels Bohr, Light and Life. He gave, I think, I don't remember where it was, Copenhagen, I don't remember. So there he goes deeply into the subject of this life and about this consciousness and all. There he comes to this point that there is something which you cannot leave and at the same time which you cannot accept in the current framework. Well, so this is little glimpse into that, and you can go further and further into those things. As per our understanding, what we have learned in our spiritual traditions, that this life, there are 3 aspects. One is the physical aspect which you touch, genome, out of genes, gene all, and then your psychological aspect, the psychic part, mind, intelligence, false ego, and then you have spiritual aspect, soul, the conscious being, the observer, the who is speaking and who is listening. So of course there are very big questions today. Already scholars asked this question in physics, that these beautiful equations are basically just 20 letters which are running the whole planet by all these motors, electromagnetic waves. How come these equations exist? From where these laws are there? So those things automatically give rise to the question that, well, we don't know what makes the laws of physics the way they are. It's a great puzzle. Maybe this was all planned by superior intelligence somehow. So it doesn't matter what the word you use, superior intelligence, supreme, God and all, but if you are open enough and deep enough, you will come to these conclusions very openly and naturally, undoubtedly. This Townes, a very nice person, UC Berkeley, he died recently. Of course, this thing is common argument which you know, that fine tuning. So whether all these constants which we study from childhood, they are so precise that if you change little bit, this universe will not exist. and the question is basically who made this so precise, and to avoid that there is a proposition that, well, there are not only one universe, there are multi universes, and every universe has different constants, so naturally one of our universe have this constant. So for that, this is the answer of some of the scholars back, that, well, if you can have faith in the multiverse, what is the problem having faith in God? Both are in faith only. So this is Phillips, he is in Maryland, a very good person, he very devoted, and he does lot of work using lasers, and the femto scale, we don't understand much his work. So it seems to us as scientists that the world is so wonderful that it must have been that God created this world. We meet him couple of times, and our founder met him, very nice man. Oh, this is the book I was talking about, Physics and Philosophy, Revolution in Modern Science, Heisenberg. I request that you read it. All these conclusions are very natural. So this is Heisenberg. Of course, there are all scientists which you will be seeing all these quotes and all from many scholars next 2-3 days. So let us skip these. Let me enter little bit into mathematics, not too much, just touch it because I think our Christoph has already covered it. Okay, one of the things which I want to cover shortly is that, mathematics of course is beautiful because the preciseness it gives you, and because these questions about God and all, if it can help you to give precise answers, and it's in the root of everything actually. Actually, von Neumann said that, you see, not to devalue physicists, biologists or something, but von Neumann was saying once in his lecture that biology derives most of its concepts, not the deeper concepts, mostly from physics. Physics derives most of its deeper concepts from theoretical physics. Theoretical physics derives most of its deeper concepts from mathematics. So mathematics actually play a root role in because if you see how we very simply integrate or expand into a Fourier transform, this transform, but whether this transform is applicable in that domain, we never ask, right? You just use mathematicians which have already done and started, or you differentiate, but without thinking whether this differential is possible in this space time or not. So this goes very fundamentally which we use. So I wanted little bit share you about this mathematician called Brouwer. I was very attracted by this mathematician. He is a Dutchman in Netherlands. We went to his house. He's passed away, his grave and all these works are there. We went to his village, his place. So interesting part is that Brouwer developed he is a very famous topologist. Topology, as you know, is a branch, is a mathematics, very abstract kind of geometry or whatever you say. Very famous topologist, and he published like 3 in his time, this century only, means 19th, like in 3-4 years he published a lot of papers on topology, and he became very famous because of that. So Brouwer, very interesting thing is, his PhD topic was on the foundations of mathematics. Christoph, that may be interesting. You must be knowing already, because I was going more inside. What I went recently, I went to his student, which is still alive, Dirk Darrell, and they have done a lot of work on Brouwer. Their school is still continuing. Is near to Amsterdam. So this Brouwer, what happened was his PhD thesis, we had lot of problem in doing his PhD thesis because he put up on the fundamental question on the foundations of mathematics and building this. These were 3 areas. I will not go details into that. What is interesting is this. This is a question 2 plus 2 equal to 4. Little bit surprising for you. You must be wondering, well, why this person calling us from all the way and talking about 2 plus 2 equal to 4, which we all know. You see, this 2 plus 2 equal to 4 looks very obvious, but it is a big question in mathematics. There is a book I don't know whether I mentioned it here, no. Oh, sorry. There is a contemporary of Brouwer called Manori. He is also a Dutch man. Some of the Dutch mathematicians have done interesting work related to our spirituality. So Manori, he published a book, and one of the chapter of this book is, can you really prove 2 plus 2 equal to 4? It goes, actually it touches into the foundations of mathematics, this question which we know very simply. Why this is a problem? Because to prove that you need to define what is 2 and what is plus. And the big problem is, how do you define 2? So how do you define 2? Immediate answer comes 1 plus 1, right? But then how do you define 1? 0 plus 1. How do you define 0 and 1? 0.5, then don't bring point, then you become more in trouble. I will ask you what is decimal, and then you get more. Well, no, it's just like these 2 fingers, 1, 2, 1, 2. Think about it today night when you go to the room, if you have time to sleep after the dinner. I think session will get little late. So this 2, this number 2, that's what we were discussing with this this Dutch person. Actually, they were going deep into this, and that's how whole branch of mathematics came into being, called intuitionistic mathematics. This is a parallel branch of mathematics still existing today. There are a whole school of people from Brouwer, they are working on it still. So what it says is, intuitionistic method means, even a small child, when he is born, he has no education. He has not still gone to nursery class, but he identifies mother, father, third person. So number process already started. 1, 2, 3. Little kid, very small kid. So what these mathematicians were saying, this Brouwer was saying, number is something so fundamental, you know intuitively. That's what intuitionistic mathematics comes. You know intuitively even before you are taught 1, 2, 3. So then first of all you have to understand this point. What is the meaning of, I know, that means you know these things inbuilt when you are in you, not just you are taught these things. So that's why when you want to define 2, you will go to 1, you will go to 0, this, where it ends. Finally it will end to something which you cannot define, which you know yourself intuitively. Then question comes, how do you know intuitively something? From where it comes in? What is the origin of that? I hope you are getting my point, or is getting too abstract. It is very simple. We are talking 2 plus 2 equal to 4. We are not talking very high philosophy. So this, that's how the question of soul comes in the picture. That's why he is talking about intuitionistic mathematics. There is a intuitively you know things. I know some things, but then where does it exist? How do I get this beforehand? So that's what actually scriptures have taught us. In our traditions, that soul has inbuilt knowledge. Sat, Chit, Anand. Chit, Sat means eternity, Chit means knowledge, and Anand is happiness. The soul, the living being, the conscious being has inbuilt knowledge, Chit. So that's, you have to little bit reflect upon it. Actually same thing you can go, because mathematics goes much in root, same thing you can go into that force and mass which I was telling you. You cannot really define this force. The word force is it. So you can, when you go to numbers, you can put question on anything. So as far as plus is concerned, this is also not easy. Actually 2 is interesting, but plus, to define plus, you need to go into the, you see this is a mathematician, Italian, interesting man. This also very interesting. I wish we could have met them. They left the planet earlier. So an addition of 2 integers is an operation that is done with a limited number of steps, but to define the addition one is forced to speak of infinitely totality of integers. These are very root problems, they are covered in the foundations, and if you go in the root, spiritual concepts naturally come out. So that's how, this is a Brouwer, this is the person, Dirk Van Dalen. He is very old, 85 plus. We went last month we visited him. He has brought out this book of Brouwer. He is a student of Brouwer, mystic, geometer and intuitionist. So our Brouwer, the mathematician, mystic, geometer means geometry person, and intuitionist, the life of Brouwer. So he took us to grave, house of Brouwer and showed a lot of things, very interesting. It looked as if we are talking about our scriptures. So Brouwer, this is a quote from Brouwer, very little bit reflective quote. If you read and if you think about it, it says it requires little peaceful mind and reflection. What it says is very simple. I know I exist. At least everybody is clear that you exist. There is no doubt. I know I exist. If I exist, then God should exist. That's the idea. Read this nicely. It's very beautiful actually. Very beautiful. Means you don't require too much, just little reflection. You see the quote. For me, the only truth is my ego of this moment, that my life at the moment is my conviction of my ego. I exist, right? And my belief in my representation, belief in that which is the origin of my ego, independent of me, is directly linked to that. Hence, something like that lives and that like me lives and that transcends me, and that is God. Very simple but reflective. So I will just finish over this mathematical part, just to give you a hint that there are beautiful things in mathematics you can explore. The concepts which you have been taught from childhood but never thought of. Just to tickle your mind is infinity. From बचपन से integrate करते ना, 0 to infinity, this infinity. But infinity is a big issue. Cantor, everybody was angry with the Cantor. Why this person brought infinity in mathematics, and right. So this infinity is a very interesting subject, and there you can have philosophical, spiritual conceptions. And then of course imaginary numbers. The name itself is imaginary. It works well. We know they are part of reality, but we don't know what they are, where they are. All these big issues. You can go. There are a lot of interesting things. Geometry means all those things. If you go deep, spirituality is very natural, but need to little bit reflect. That's all. So I will not go into Gödel. Our Christoph had already covered it. One interesting thing about Gödel is, Christoph, that and for others, that Gödel not only did proof of God, he also did this incomplete, of course, that is fine. Beyond that, Gödel gave beautiful logic on soul, afterlife, very beautiful logic. Actually, we went to his archives recently in Princeton, and his collected works and volumes is beautiful. Actually, you can get much more, not only God, you can get much more logics. For example, I tell you one interesting logic I tell you. Gödel says this. Gödel was saying, well, one of the question about God he says, soul he says, that is fine. You can get little logical and get answer about it. Then he says about afterlife. There is always a question. Afterlife, whether it's there or not, who has seen it? I die and everything finish, right? So Gödel said, logician. Gödel is said to be one of the biggest logician ever born on the planet, mathematical logic. So he gave a logic, very nice logic. He says, well, you can read in his works, it is there in his books, collected works, there are volumes, 7, 8 volumes are there. He says, well, I have a duration of around 80 to 100 years of life. Yes? Of course. If you are lucky, you can have 110, 120. Or not so lucky, then you can leave early also. So, okay. But then, universe has age of 15 billion year or something, 15.5 billion, whatever the age of the universe. 13.8. Let us be precise. 13.8 into billion years, right? Okay. So Gödel says, the logic he puts is, to have a universe of 14 billion years and giving me only 100 years in this universe does not make sense actually. I should be getting more chance to come again and again here. Otherwise, why this universe will be created for billions of years? Actually, it is like, he give example, making a house and breaking it again next day. I think God is not so foolish. So there should be afterlife, and we should be getting life after life chance to improve ourselves, our consciousness. That's a very beautiful logic. So actually you can go very beautiful, even about mind also Gödel says very nicely about that the number of the speed with which our mind works, you cannot explain using brain. Okay, our messages come from our chair. Okay, so Gödel, okay, you go into much of the work. My idea is not to give you everything, just to give you hints and you explore in your own life. Okay, Leibniz and all, we drop it, and I think, yeah, this is the another logic. Gödel says that science has shown here nicely, science has shown that everything has a cause behind the things. Well, this is green because there is a light, there is a photosynthesis, not photosynthesis here, there is some whatever, so there is a light reflection. So everything has a cause. Similarly, if life exists, life should also have a cause. Why this life should exist at all? If you don't know, that does not mean that there is no cause. Well, the science tells us that there must be cause and meaning in life. So Gödel, he goes more and more very nicely. You can have a look just to give you a hint. So I think biology part I will drop it. We already have our time is over. Well, just to share with you at the passing mark, well, this little brain which we all have is a big trouble for all of us today, how it works, and well, there anybody behind, and so we will drop this thing. And the last is that this is the message of the Vedanta, the first shloka of Vedanta, that this human life is meant to inquire about God. So you can go into any of the mathematicians, then you can go into Gödel, Ramanujan, Manori, you can go into so many actually, Italian that mathematician, this French mathematician Poincaré, and you go into the works of these people. Don't just go, actually these are not taught, and somehow it is not taught, I don't know why it is not possible probably to just teach in one course. But these the way we are taught, to tell you frankly, if you are taught properly science, spirituality won't be a problem. Guarantee I can tell you. I mean, it's not 90 and 100%. If you are taught properly science, the way science has developed, the way founders have found, the way founders are thinking about it, their thoughts, you go into their complete works, not just the technical paper which has technological implication, that is taken out, other part is not taken care. Go properly in science, in any disciplines, go into the foundations of the discipline. Spirituality is necessary, is automatic, not because that I belong to some ashram or sadhu or something, no, objectively I am telling you, frankly, and that's what I was, actually my own quest was that let me find out whether these things are really true or not, and they make so much sense. And you see all these people and their works, then I showed you only few books actually. You go to Brouwer's so many books, and he wrote like a paper called Intuitionism and Consciousness, and very mathematical paper. He talks about consciousness mathematically. So you can go into that depth, and then you will feel the pulse of all this. So when I was going through these works of these people, then I felt the pulse, that what they felt, what our scientists, founders felt, which is not shared today. We are just shared is little very small work, which is only actually small part of his life. So I think I will finish here. You must be hungry too. Enough food for the soul. Let us have food for the stomach also. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Varun Maharaj, for covering the complete spectrum, the incompleteness of science, then importance of logic, and finally we leave it to intuition. Thank you very much. And people are hungry, so we will not take any question.
Sure.
You are available all the time,
Sure.
and people can ask.
Please wait for.
Yeah, give announcement.
Okay, one question.
Huh? Okay, yeah, there is some question which you cannot avoid. Okay, let's. Sir, ask some simple question.
You understand quantum coherence, quantum entanglement. In fact, even 2 weeks ago, they have shown very beautifully how you electrons can be correlated with each other at a very long distance.
Yes.
You can make them jump, dance, whatever they want.
Uh-huh.
This is consciousness now.
Yes.
So on a lab scale today, the quantum mechanics experimentalists at least have demonstrated that we can have some sort of consciousness. Now, obviously, the bigger question of consciousness in life is a big question, but I have no doubt that it will be solved. But it will take maybe another 50 years. But I think we are on the way. So Schrödinger and Heisenberg are now classic.
Yeah.
For history, they are okay. They were great scientists. But I think that changed a lot.
Right. I fully agree with you, Professor Chopra, that there are developments in next. Actually, I have not covered the next level of next domain of quantum physics with all these new people. What is our name? That Caltech man, Feynman, and all these people. There is a next domain generation of people that will come in that, and of course today's that requires another discussion. What beauty I found, we have little idea, not much idea maybe. That domain we have not covered deliberately, it's not possible. But what I found, if you go to the works of these people, the issues and the in-depth thing which they explored, actually those are perfectly valid even today. Means when I read a book of Schrödinger and Heisenberg and when I read today's best scholars book, there is a huge difference. The depth which this person caught 100 years ago still is a problem today. Small part of that could be solved. Suppose some technological development, that is fine. The fundamental issues he raised, that's why I told the word reflection. They are still valid, and you will, when you read that article, it touches you. Wow, he could think 100 years ago, same.
Swamiji, we will not question you beyond this, because we know that science is evolving. If mathematics can find God, physics will also find God, chemistry will find God, surely microbiology will find God. But what I want to touch upon you just half a second only. You asked about what is one, and you said 0 plus 1 is 1. That's not what Indian mind understands. Indian mind understands that one is without any other, which means one is without any other. That is one. When there is no other, that is one. And that is how, in fact, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, the concept of Ekam as God is one, the unified world order is just one. This is how one was understood, in fact.
Very
Not
nice.
0 plus 1.
Yes.
One was basically no other. And if there is 2, it is the shadow of 1 that becomes 2 actually. And that's how this. So this is how, in fact, this is how our understanding. But thank you.
The session comes to an end, but we have a small ceremony of presenting memento to the eminent speakers.
So I request Dr. Mukhopadhyay, you please kindly present the mementos to the distinguished speakers. Professor Muller. Professor Vikram Singh. And Swamiji. And I will now request to Dr. Ramji Rappeka from IIT Ropa kindly present memento to our session chair. And now there is an important announcement, and after this announcement we will proceed for the lunch, and after 30 minutes, maybe around 3:15 or 3:20. Quick lunch. Okay, so 3:20 we will be here. Okay, okay.
Tomorrow we are having a Vedic quiz competition. So for that, please register at the book counter. And today evening at 6 p.m. we have the screening test in the Maitri Seminar Hall.